Why are you so obsessed with me?
I haven't done anything to help you.
I did what I had to win.
Immediately now.
Alright, my Jew crew, grab your emotional support coffee and buckle up. Because today we are going to be diving into the swirling black hole that is modern day narcissism. A delightful little plague on humanity that our culture doesn't just tolerate, but encourages.
Dun dun dun.
But before we get started, you guys can find my brand new stoneware St. Jude prayer mugs on my donation center at thereligioushippie.com. Shipping is included in the price, and all donations are greatly appreciated to help me keep this ministry running during very, very difficult times at the moment. So thank you so much. With that being said, let's get into this mess. Now, narcissism at its core is not about being a baddie or having confidence.
That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen.
It is just full-blown self-obsession.
Here's how to be obsessed with yourself.
Entitlement, and an almost Olympic level inability to recognize that the world does not, in fact, revolve around you.
You can't enjoy this without sharing it with like 500 strangers?
500? Try 887,132. And they're not strangers, they're followers.
I know, shocking. Like, why are you telling me the world doesn't revolve around me? Like, guys, come on, it's me. My thing is that this isn't just like a personality flaw that you just come across in somebody and you're like, oh, that's kind of odd, but like, whatever. From a Catholic's standpoint, true narcissism is a spiritual cancer. It's a rejection of humility, and it's flipping the gospel upside down so people can worship themselves instead of God. But of course, the world slaps a cute little label on it. You're the main character. Do what's best for you. Your truth is your truth, sweetie. What they're selling is pride, vanity, and spiritual rot wrapped up in pastel graphics and hashtags. At least depending on what side of Instagram you're on, because sometimes if you're on a different side of Instagram, it's more like dark hashtags and like darker colors, more of a different, whatever. The point is, it's not good. I do believe that we've built a society that spoon feeds narcissism from the cradle. Social media, a highlight reel of delusion. Self-help books, usually ego on steroids, if not occultism. Self-care culture is usually just code word for avoid accountability 101. And now anyone who calls out this behavior is now toxic and or controlling. But I want to ask you guys, does this kind of sound familiar? Because the script has already been written, and I'll give you like 3 seconds to guess by who. Sorry guys, just like hit you guys. Okay, it's Lucifer. Yes, that Lucifer. He said, and I quote, "I will not serve." Ringing any bells? He was the original narcissist. He is the prototype for every manipulative, self-worshipping, authority-hating person that you ever had the displeasure of meeting. That was a mouthful. I'm gonna be honest. That was a lot, Robin.
That was a lot, Robin.
Catholicism is about self-sacrifice. Narcissism is about self-service. So yeah, you could say there's a bit of a conflict there. However, I will say that we all have a little narcissism in us, okay? We're all a little narcissistic, but there's a difference between diabolical narcissism, which I'll get into in a second, and just like normal people who struggle with pride. So I just want to make it clear at this point, probably should have put this in the beginning of the video because I usually get dragged for things like this, but I just want to be clear that I'm talking about the extreme cases of narcissism, like the actual narcissists, not people who just have narcissistic tendencies or struggle with pride, okay? Because there's a lot of different variations, but I'm focusing on the most extreme cases. Humility says, I need God. Narcissism says, I am God. Charity says, how can I love others? Narcissism says, what can others do for me? Obedience says, thy will be done. Narcissism says, I will not serve. I'm just saying, you don't need a theology degree to see this, okay? Narcissism has become a spiritual disease, and it's spreading everywhere like wildfire. If you've ever personally dealt with a narcissist, you know that it's not just like annoying, but it's actually kind of traumatizing. Narcissists don't just make like bad friends or bad spouses. They dismantle your sanity like one gaslight at a time. They manipulate, they gaslight, they fake empathy better than any Hollywood actor I've ever seen. Unless, of course, the narcissist is a Hollywood actor, because we know how that situation's going right now. And basically, they just suck the life out of you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I want to be clear here, you cannot fix them. You are not their savior. Jesus Christ is. And they have to take the appropriate steps to help themselves. Nothing you can do can really help a true narcissist. But I will say that a lot of narcissists are deeply broken and troubled people, which is shocking. I know that someone so horrible could also be the victim of somebody else who's horrible. It's a very bad cycle. But underneath, the confidence or the lack thereof confidence, because really narcissists are not confident at all. They're actually very insecure people. Underneath all of that is a wounded soul who never healed properly. But instead of turning towards Christ, they decided to build a fort around their ego. And let's be honest, that is a pretty hollow fort. Their entire personality is just a Pinterest board of insecurity. And just like Narcissus in the myth. Just like Narcissus in the myth, in the Greek myths, they're so obsessed with their own reflection that they'll drown in it, spiritually, emotionally, and even sometimes physically. Narcissism is rooted in pride, which is one of Satan's favorite sins, because pride is what got him kicked out of heaven, but also it's the mother sin. It's the root of all other sins. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, narcissism is a resistance to grace, because when you are your own God, who needs God? And then narcissism also creates spiritual blindness, because you can't really see the truth when all you see is yourself, right? Father Ripperger said, narcissists share the psychology of demons, control freaks obsessed with being worshipped and capable of true love. I wish I were joking. The psychological profile of a demon is almost identical to a narcissist. They are self-absorbed, manipulative, controlling, and they demand attention, worship, and obedience. So Father Ripperger, he coined the term diabolic narcissism. And if you've been online for more than 5 seconds, you have seen this in action. I have never seen so many narcissists in one place than online. And let's be honest, social media exacerbates narcissism, because social media is usually all about you. All about what you look like, your opinions, me. Narcissists online, they think they have supreme moral authority. They use people as a means to an end or as tools. Can't say they're sorry unless it benefits them, and even then they're not actually sorry. They avoid suffering like it's a food allergy. I guess in general, it's just like they're allergic to virtue, okay? And I'm not saying everybody online is a narcissist. I am not saying that at all, but it's pretty easy to point out the diabolical narcissists. And we all need to be careful and pray the litany of humility and make sure that we are staying on top of our own prideful tendencies, and that we are doing social media for the Lord, not for our own glorification or gratification. And this is easier said than done. I fall short in this as well. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I am saying, though, you have to stay on top of it, because it's your duty to make sure that you are staying on a narrow path, and that is your responsibility. So just saying that, just putting it out there. Don't shoot the messenger. Really quick though, before we get further into the video, I first want to say that this segment is sponsored by my Patreon. If you're enjoying this video, consider becoming a part of my behind the scenes community on Patreon. On my Patreon, you will see full versions of videos, including this one, ad-free, censor-free content, along with exclusive offers and more, like being in a community with these amazing people. And a special shout out to Cody, who was the very first person to sign up for my Patreon, and that was before I even advertised it. So Cody's awesome. I would also like to thank Adore Holy Face of Christ Our King, George Gregory, Winona Dobrava, Michael Martin, Andrew Pulowski. I'm horrible at names. I'm so sorry. Alex R., James, Cody, yeah, Christopher Woodside, Kevin Ashbrook, Kevin, DJ Hawk, and Jason. Thank you all. Because of you, I can continue doing this ministry. So thank you so much. If you can't support the ministry through Patreon, you can also do a one-time donation on my website, which I will link below in the description for you guys. And if you can't donate, please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you'll know when I upload videos. I put in a lot of work and drink a lot of coffee to keep this ministry running. And the only way I'm able to continue doing this work is through your help, whether that's financial or through prayers or any other way. Thank you so much. It truly means more to me than you will ever know. And now back to the video. Now we're going to talk about daddy issues, which is what the title of this was made. I'm sorry, the title was so funny to me. I don't know if that's technically clickbait, but I thought the title was like spot on, like daddy issues, but make it theological. I thought that was such a funny title. And I was like, hopefully people don't think this is going to be clickbait, because I just really like the title. But I want to get into the father wound and that link to narcissism. Like I said earlier in the video, narcissists aren't just vain people, they're also wounded people. And that wound can oftentimes be traced back to the lack of having a father figure, or the weakness of a father, or abuse, of course. But no discipline, no example of sacrificial love. There was no correction that was rooted in truth. And oftentimes it was probably abusive and their love was probably conditional. And I think the worst is that they didn't have an identity that was grounded in God. When a father fails to father, the child becomes a spiritual orphan, even if their dad is technically still around. And when kids don't know the love of a good father, they'll chase any form of attention that feels like love, even if it's empty. Even if it destroys them, they will still chase it. So what they do, instead of growing into virtuous men and women, they grow into walking Instagram profiles. They're curated, they're filtered, they're obsessed with how they look, how they're perceived, how much power and or pity that they can get from people around them. And underneath all of that is a frail ego that is screaming for validation. But you can't post or narcissist your way out of a father wound. It requires a deeper type of healing. And to be honest, God the Father is the only father who can make up for the lack of your earth father. That sounds like some alien thing. Only God the Father can heal what your earthly dad couldn't. No therapy, self-care, any amount of followers are going to be able to heal those father wounds. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to cure every narcissist in the world. And when it's as extreme as diabolical narcissism, it's very hard to be able to help them at all at the expense of your own peace. Like, they will destroy your peace and you and your everything. But if you are specifically struggling with narcissism and you recognize that, recognizing it is like the first step. So kudos to you, because most narcissists can't even see they are narcissists. But how you can heal narcissism in yourself is to humble yourself. That is the opposite of pride. So pray the litany of humility, deny your ego and deny your flesh as often as you can. Fasting is fabulous. Practice obeying actual truth, not just what you think is true. Make sure that you're going to confession and you're receiving the sacraments regularly. All of this stuff is going to be very, very helpful. The saints did not become holy by affirming themselves. They became holy by denying themselves and dying to themselves. I don't usually like to feel like an awful person, but when I do, I like to pick up something by St. Alphonsus Liguori. It always gives me a healthy dose of humility. You can find his writing on Tan books along with other spiritual classics like Imitation of Christ and, of course, Story of a Soul. Catholic books that don't sugarcoat the faith? That's Tan books. They've got everything you need to become a saint except the sacraments, obviously. They even have a tab for it, believe it or not. So what are you waiting for? Learn how to become a saint from people who have done it themselves. And while you're at it, use my promo code AMBER15 for 15% off your next order and to help support this channel. That's AMBER15 for 15% off your next order. Thanks, guys. All right, back to the video. So how do you deal with a narcissist, in a Catholic way? Because like I say, this is a channel of hope and joy and humor when I can, to try and throw a humorous spin on otherwise difficult topics. And I want to talk about how you as a Catholic can handle a narcissist. Number 1, set boundaries and stick to them. If you want peace in your life, you're going to have to set some boundaries with the narcissist. Narcissists are emotional vampires and they will completely drain you if you let them. I highly suggest not engaging with any drama they try to stir up. Like, do not engage at all. Do not entertain their need to be this center of attention and to be pitied. Stand firm and keep your peace. That's more important than falling into a narcissist trap. Number 2, this kind of ties into number 1, but don't let them get under your skin. Narcissists thrive on triggering your emotions and getting some kind of rise out of you. They're constantly looking for validation, and if they feel threatened by you, they're going to do everything they can to try and tear you down. So do not give them the satisfaction of an emotional response. Respond with calmness, not drama. If you have to respond, they want to fight, don't engage, ignore it completely, because at the end of the day, it's just not worth it. Number 3, pray for them, but don't expect anything to change. And I know you're probably thinking, how on earth can I pray for this person who is so horrible? But you have to trust me here. Prayer is so powerful, and it doesn't just help you forgive them and to gain more peace in your life, but also it will help them spiritually. God can change hearts, but I need to be reminded of this all the time. He moves on his own time, okay, not ours. And so we need to pray, but also keep our distance when we're being harmed. So when you're feeling particularly frustrated with a narcissist, pray. It may not feel like it's doing anything in the moment, but trust me that it is, because you're asking God to do what you can't. Number 4, you have to learn the art of detachment. Narcissists can be incredibly exhausting. They constantly want to stir the pot, keep things chaotic, drag you into their mess. Don't bite. Don't be a little fish that bites. St. Ignatius of Loyola, I feel like, would advise to detach. Detach from the drama, detach from their need for attention. It's their problem, not yours. And now, what happens if you are the narcissist? Like I said, we all have a little bit of narcissism in us, but this video was primarily about extreme narcissism. But, you know, maybe listening to this, you realize that you are struggling with narcissism and you need some tips how to not be a narcissist. And so, you know, if you're watching this and you're like, uh-oh, I think I might be a narcissist, you're already ahead of the game. Step 1, acknowledge it. Step 2, repent. Number 1, own your pride. That kind of sounds like an oxymoron, to be honest, but it's not. If you have been living with this constant need to be the center of attention, you've been stepping on people to get up higher, that you've been using people as a means to an end for how they benefit you, etc., it's time to admit to it. Pride is the root of all of this, and it's time to chop it down. St. Augustine said, "The beginning of good works is the confession of bad works." You can't fix what you don't admit is broken. So go to confession, lay it all out, and let God work on you. The litany of humility is going to be your best friend during this time. Be prepared to be uncomfortable. Number 2 is self-denial and mortification. I want to be clear that this isn't just like, oh, I can just give up dessert and like that'll be good enough. It's about constantly denying yourself the desire for attention, approval, and validation. You cannot love people properly when you are obsessed with yourself. Mortification helps you get over yourself and to die to yourself. So I want you to start saying no to things that feed your vanity, whether it's compliments, likes, validation, or just social media as a whole, I guess, because that kind of ties in everything. Start saying no. If you have to delete social media apps off of your phone for a little while, do that. Your soul is more important than any vice or comfort you will experience in this world. And the last question that I normally get from people is, can narcissists be saved? Yes. Yes, they can. But it's very difficult because it's on them, and many narcissists have the mindset of demons these days, and it's very, very sad to see. It's going to take some serious heart work for narcissists to come back and to be saved. And of course, transformations don't happen like completely overnight. Like miracles do happen, of course, but usually it takes a long time to fight back the urges that we've kind of gotten so used to over the years. But healing can absolutely happen. But a narcissist has to humble themselves before God, and once they do that, God is free in their lives to change things and to help them. But God's grace is more than enough to heal them. So I want you guys to keep praying for the narcissists in your life. Pray for their conversion, pray for their humility, sacrifice for them, make spiritual sacrifices for them, but don't expect them to change instantly or ever. Also, don't enable their behavior. And you don't enable their behavior because you don't engage. Honestly, from my own experience and from the experience of people who have told me this, distance is usually the best thing you can do when you are struggling with a narcissist. Set those hard boundaries, stick to them, and just don't back down. Also make sure that you are receiving sacraments and you are going to confession and you are going to mass as frequently as possible when dealing with these types of spiritual attacks, because I do believe to an extent these are spiritual attacks. Stay close to the faith. Stay close to Our Lady, stay close to Jesus, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, guys.